Hello and welcome to Cyclocosm.com's How the Race Was Won. Today it's back to Belgium for the better known of the two spring races named after arrows, La Fleche-Wallone. The race, best known for its principal obstacle, the drunken pirate steep Muur de Huy, also features other more reasonable climbs and, of course, the requisite jockeying for position leading into each of them. This year's event was carried out in surprisingly warm conditions, especially in light of last year's Sloshfest, and unsurprisingly, a two-man break was allowed a lengthy early advantage. No, the surprise came when Skill Shimano's Fumiyuki Beppi began falling off the pace of breakaway companion Christophe Moreau almost as soon as TV coverage kicked in. Thanks to the leisurely pace of the peloton behind, Beppu had to continue flogging his shattered legs for another 23 kilometers, all alone with the camera moto and the protesting farmers, before finally getting pulled back as the chase whipped up in earnest. While the uptick in tempo at the front made things miserable at the back and began shelling riders that had already done their work for the day, it wasn't going to shake out or even tire the major contenders. Not until Saxo Bank's Chris Anke Sorensen attacked over a long climb at 48 to go did the day's hostilities really begin. In a way, the move was too successful. Sorensen's attack eventually cohesed into a 17-man armada, far too large a group to coordinate over the late stages of a spring classic. While the near-constant attacks pulled the break's lead out to over 20 seconds, the lack of teamwork and the presence of riders sitting up for teammates behind led to its resorption at 29k to go. While attacks continued to fly over the next few kilometers and riders continued to fall off, nothing serious was accomplished other than the long-awaited recapture of Christophe Moreau. Not until 22k to go did another rider catch daylight, Jose Serpa, who waited until attacks left the front of the group in complete disarray before launching a definitive move. Behind Serpa, the group stabilized as Lampre and Cees de Parn once again drove the pack. Serpa was returned to the fold after losing his 17-second advantage in less than a kilometer of gradual climb. With the group together again, the attacking resumed, and 2k later, the Austrian champion Christian Fanberger made a jump that set off the day's final break. This last move had something of a rolling rotation, based mainly around Joaquim Rodriguez, Michele Scarponi, and Fanberger. While the break had plenty of firepower, nearly every team in it had another card to play in the group behind. Combine this with an aggressive chase driven by Highroad and Euskaltel, and it was all together again at 3k to go, with Lotto keeping it that way till the foot of the Muur. The Muur de Huy is one of the most deceptive finishes in cycling. It's about 2.5 minutes from bottom to top, and I get the impression that at the bottom, anyone with a spark in their legs thinks they can give it a go. Certainly, with the peloton slowed by the steep pitch and the freshest riders waiting for a perfectly timed move, a hard attack at the bottom can score you some room, as David Delay proves. But at over 20% gradient, you can either turn the gear over or you can't, which may be why the favorites don't appear at the front until just before the final minute of the climb. And even then, as a bogging Cadel Evans shows, that might be too soon. In the end, it all comes down to timing. Watch as Davide Rebellin rides side by side with Andy Schleck, sacrificing what little draft is available to guarantee himself a clean front wheel when the place where he's launched two other Fletch-winning attacks arrives. Aided in his burst by some good rest while his teammates were off the front in the closing kilometers, the canny veteran even has time to point to his hat before crossing the line, reminding viewers around the world that this is the third time he's timed this particular race to perfection. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won.